Are you in where it's warm? I hope so, because it's really cold outside. I took it straight to the authority. I asked Tug Rollins, our Maine transplant, if this was cold, and he said, yes, this is cold. This is cold. So if the guy from Maine says it's cold, you've got the authoritative word, it's cold outside. But we're getting better. We're getting better. Yesterday, was tough. Today, wind chill factor, 12 degrees. That's cold. But yesterday it was 12 degrees. So we're getting better. Tomorrow, tomorrow we might even get above freezing tomorrow. How great will that be? I think maybe they ought to have parties all across the country. Fireworks, confetti. Every time somebody gets above freezing, they touches off the celebration like New Year's Eve. People asking, are we having services Sunday? Right now, everything is still on schedule like normal. We'll just have to see what happens between now and Sunday. If we go to cancel services or something, we'll let you know. But it could be worse. I found this photograph. I don't know where it's at, and I just hope they never need a gospel meeting preacher and need to call me, because, man, that would be tough, wouldn't it? Well, we're not going to do that. If we have services Sunday, it'll be inside where it's warm, and we won't have to shovel snow or break ice to do it. We'll be looking forward to you being there and worshiping with us. But we'll let you know. If we go to cancel services, we'll make sure word gets out everywhere. There's lots of ice, lots of snow. Snow is a beautiful thing. There's nothing much prettier than a hazy afternoon or even a nighttime and the big flakes of snow falling through the air. Man, it's just beautiful. And it's an amazing thing that the snow just seems to appear, out of nowhere. When God turned to Job and wants to impress upon Job the amazing attributes of the world and Job's relationship to all those things. One of the things he says is, he said, Job, have you been to the place where I store all the snow? I don't know if Job thought of in terms of there being a big vault somewhere that emptied out the snow or not, but that's the picture that God uses. And he says, Job, from whose womb comes the ice and freezing rain and sleet. And Job, have you seen it when the water becomes hard as rock? Job, have you seen when the lakes and the seas freeze over? It's all meant to amaze Job, and it would have. Years later, we don't feel that amazement. We think, oh, it's just about poetry. But once again, Job and them, they didn't have meteorological studies and weather balloons and radar and satellites and all. They didn't have all that stuff. They just had what they could see as it falling down, and it looked like the snow just appeared out of nowhere. The cold just came from nowhere, and people really, it was mysterious and almost like it was a spiritual force in the world. And a lot of the pagans did think it was gods and goddesses that were giving birth to these kind of things. That was the best explanation they could come up with. Years later, we're I don't know if cynical is the word, but we're not impressed. Yeah, we know about how snow was formed. We know about water granules in the air and the wind and all of that. Airflow, we know how that happens. We know where sleet comes. We know how ice forms. Man, we're so smart. We're so smart. So we're not impressed anymore. But maybe that says more about us than about the universe. Because we're really smart. We have been to the moon. We have traveled the greatest voyage ever, all the way to the moon. The moon is the closest body in the universe to us. And we are so impressed with ourselves because we've been there. We kept trying to figure out how to get to Mars, and we can't do it yet. It's the closest planet. We haven't been to it. Matter of fact, we have never been to another planet. The moon is the closest thing we've been to. There's 6 more in our solar system. We haven't been to them. We haven't been outside of our solar system into the Milky Way galaxy. And of all the galaxies, the universe, and all the suns, and all the solar systems. And yet we're so impressed with ourselves. Because, we pretty much understand it all. We've got it all in our minds. We understand how it works. And, a few thousand years in the future, if the world lasts that long, can you imagine how they'll look back at us and say, you won't believe the stupid stuff those people thought? And somebody else say, yeah, but you got to understand, they don't have all of all this stuff. They didn't have all this stuff. They were just working with what they had. It's what they'll talk about us, just like we talked about the people in biblical days. And so maybe the better response is to look back, step back, and be amazed and be impressed. See, storms like this remind us that the universe is above our heads. Reality is something that is bigger than we can handle. We just don't have the abilities. People saying, what? Somebody should have done something about this, and the power grid going down and all of that. Oh, somebody should have done something about this. Somebody fix it. Somebody's to blame. Somebody fix it. And the answer is, it just is. This is just the way reality is. And reality is just bigger than we are. Because here's a clue. Here is a hint. We are not the big wheels in the universe. The world, the universe, does not revolve around us. We're not the biggest fish in the ocean. We're not the ones who have set it all in course and understand it all. We're taken down right now by this coronavirus. They estimate that we know, but only 5 or 10%, and that's just an estimate, of all the species that exist that are microscopic. Only 5 or 10%. 90% of the species that live in the microscopic world, we just don't even know who they are. You see, the world is just a lot bigger than us. Even on our own planet, most of the oceans, we have very little knowledge of what's down there. You see, we're just dust. Like I said, we're not the big wheels in the universe. We're not the main feature. We're not the ones who put it all in order or who can put it all back in order. That belongs to the one who made it. The blessing is, though, we get to be His children, and He loves us, and He watches over us. And I suspect watches over all of His creation, but He loves us, he says, in a very special way. So much so that He would rather die for us than live without us. And He will not abandon us, no matter how cold it gets, or how hot it gets this summer, or how hard the wind blows, or anything else. Nothing can separate us from His love for us. And so take heart. This too shall pass, as the text says, and God will always be in charge of the universe. And we may not understand it, and we may not understand Him, but the one thing we know, if He will send His Son to die for us on the cross, He loves us, and He's going to do what's best for us. And we can trust in that.